You have been doing the same thing for years. The hours are real. You could count them and the number would be honest. And you are close to where you were 3 years ago. This is the part nobody explains. Practice is supposed to work. You were told the hours add up. Time in the seat becomes skill. The difference between the person who is good and the person who is not is how long they stayed. So you stayed. The line went flat anyway. There are two standard explanations and they are both wrong. The first is talent. You were not built for this one. The second is volume. You did not put in enough hours yet. Notice that both answers protect the same idea. Both assume that time is the thing that builds the skill. Time is not the thing that builds the skill. The hour is not the unit. The unit is the corrected error, and most of your hours contain none. Take two people who practice the same instrument for the same 600 hours. One of them is unrecognizable at the end of it. The other is where they started. The hours were identical. What was inside them was not. 5 mechanisms decide what is inside an hour. Once you can see them, you can look at any session you have ever done and say whether it built something or only filled the time. Learning is fast at the start because at the start everything is a mistake. Every movement is wrong in a way you can feel. There is a correction available in every second and you take all of them. That is what the steep part of the curve is made of. It is not enthusiasm, it is density of error. Then something happens that everyone treats as the good news. You get good enough, the thing works. The car moves, the sentence lands, the code runs. Your brain does what it is built to do with a sequence that works. It automates it. Attention is expensive, and once a pattern is reliable, it gets moved somewhere cheaper. The movement runs without supervision. You stop having to watch yourself do it. That is a real achievement. It is also the exact moment the skill stops changing. Picture a dirt road with a car that goes down it every day. The wheels find the same line each time. Every pass cuts the track a little deeper. For a while the groove helps, it holds you straight, you stop having to steer at all. Then one day it is deep enough that steering does nothing. You turn the wheel and the car keeps going where the road decided years ago. Nobody dug that, it was dug by repetition. You have been driving for 20 years. You are not a better driver than you were in year 3. You are a driver with 17 more years of the same 3 years. You type all day, every day, and your speed is what it was in school. The letters you hit wrong are the letters you have hit wrong 10,000 times. Hours spent inside the groove are not construction, they are maintenance. They keep the skill from decaying, which is worth something, and they add nothing on top. Here is how to tell where you are. If you can do it while thinking about something else, you are not practicing it, you are running it. Attention is the tell. The moment a task stops needing your full attention, it has stopped being able to change you. The uncomfortable version of that sentence is the useful one. Everything you are good at is now, by definition, the part of your practice that does nothing. So if the skill only moves where the movement is still unreliable, the question becomes where you are willing to be unreliable. Picture a street light on an empty road at night. There is a circle of light on the ground, and past its edge there is nothing you can see. Everything you can already do is inside that circle. Everything you cannot do is out past the edge in the dark. People practice in the light, not out of laziness. In the light you succeed, and succeeding feels like the thing you came to do. The guitarist who has played for 15 years plays the same 4 songs when they pick up the instrument. The person learning a language talks about their job, their family, and the weather, because those are the 3 conversations they have already survived. The designer opens the same tool and makes the same shape. Every one of them is putting in hours. None of the hours land anywhere new. The mechanism underneath is simple, and it is not about motivation. A correction signal exists only where something goes wrong. Where you succeed, there is nothing to correct. Success is silent. It tells you that what you did was inside what you can already do, which you knew before you started. That is why the sessions that feel best are the emptiest ones. The good feeling is a report on the difficulty. It is not a report on the progress. The practical version is a dial, not a leap. Set the level so that you miss, not so that you drown, because when nothing works there is no signal either, only noise. Somewhere around 1 miss in 5 keeps the session full of information. There is a faster way to find that level. Name the part you avoid. Everyone has one, and everyone can name it in under 10 seconds because avoiding something takes effort, and the effort is conscious. The chord change you root around. The conversation you switch languages for. The part of the job you always hand to someone else. That is not a gap in your practice. That is the address of your next skill. It is the one place in the whole session where a correction is available. One rule to carry out of this. If a session felt smooth from the first minute to the last, it was not practice. It was a performance, and the audience was you. Now the second half of the same problem, and this is the one that quietly ruins the most hours. You can go looking for the failure and still learn nothing from it if nothing tells you what failed. Picture an archer in fog. You draw, you release, and the arrow disappears into the white. Somewhere out there is a target. You cannot see it and you cannot see where the arrow went, so you draw again and again. 200 arrows later, a note arrives that says most of them went left. Repetition without a signal does not correct anything. It engraves. Whatever you did it 200 more times, and now it is the thing your hands do by default. This is why 4 hours of practice can leave you worse than you started, which is a sentence people find hard to believe until it has happened to them. The signal has 2 properties, and both of them fail in ordinary life. The first is speed. The correction has to arrive while the action is still in your hands. What gets built is the link between what you did and what came back. If the answer arrives a week later, there is nothing left to attach it to. You will agree with the note and change nothing, because the part of you that had to change was not present when the note arrived. The second is precision. Most of the feedback available to an adult is worthless, and it is worthless out of kindness. People say it was good, they say they liked it. That is a rating, and a rating is not a correction. It tells you which side of a line you landed on and nothing about which direction to move. You can fix both this week, and neither one takes a coach. Record yourself once. Audio for a conversation or a talk, video for anything with a body in it. Then watch the part you already suspect is bad. Half the corrections you have been waiting for someone else to give you are visible in 90 seconds of tape, and they are visible because the person watching is no longer the person performing. Ask one narrow question instead of a general one. Not what did you think? Ask whether the middle dragged. Ask whether the ending was clear. A narrow question is the only kind that comes back with a correction attached because it is the only kind the other person can answer without insulting you. And when you can, practice on material that comes with an answer, a problem with a worked solution, a translation with a key, a recording of the piece played properly, anything where you can be wrong in private and find out in the next 10 seconds. Most people practice in the fog for years, hit the same wall, and file the result under talent. Once you know what is failing, there is still the question of what you rehearse, and almost everyone rehearses the wrong object. Watch anyone prepare something. They start at the beginning and go to the end. It feels like work, it takes the whole evening, and it produces the same result as last time. A full run is a measurement. It tells you where you are. It is a test, and taking a test does not teach you the material. Think about what actually goes wrong in a piece of music. Nobody plays the whole piece badly. They play it well for 98 bars and it falls apart in 2. Those 2 bars are the piece as far as practice is concerned. The rest is a lap of honor for a skill that is already finished. So take scissors to the page, cut out the 2 bars, slow them down until they are right, because right and slow becomes right and fast while wrong and fast stays wrong forever. Loop them for 10 minutes. Then put them back and run the piece to see whether the seam holds. Everything works this way once you look for it. The talk where the middle collapses does not need 3 more full rehearsals. It needs the transition into the middle, said out loud 30 times, until it stops being the place you fall. The serve that lands out is usually the toss. Stand there and toss the ball 100 times without hitting it. It looks absurd and it is the whole fix. The language that stalls on one form. Drill that form on its own for a week and the conversations open up by themselves. The call that never converts loses the person in the first 15 seconds. Rehearse 15 seconds, not the hour. 2 things make this hard, and both are worth naming. The whole run feels productive because it is long and it resembles the real event. And the broken piece is unpleasant by definition because it is the part you are bad at. So people rehearse the 98 bars they enjoy and call the 2 bars a weakness they were born with. Keep the ratio in mind. Full runs measure, pieces build. 1 run to find the seam, 10 minutes on the seam, 1 run to check it. The last mechanism is about the order, and it is the one that feels most like a mistake while you are doing it. Picture 2 decks of cards on a table. One is sorted by suit in order exactly as it came out of the box. The other has been shuffled. Practice is the second deck, and every instinct you have will pull you toward the first. Blocked practice is doing the same thing 50 times in a row. The first few repetitions are real. By the 10th, you are not retrieving the skill anymore, you are copying the repetition you just did. Short-term memory does the work, and it does it well, so the session looks excellent from the inside. Then you come back 2 days later and it is gone. Nothing was built, because retrieving the skill from cold is the thing that builds it, and you never retrieved it once. You held it for an hour and put it down. Mixed practice is switching before you are comfortable. 3 things in one session instead of 1 thing 3 times. Every switch forces you to go and get the skill again, and every one of those trips is the actual work. It performs worse inside the session. That is not a side effect, that is the mechanism. You will make more mistakes, feel clumsier, and end the hour less impressed with yourself. A month later you will still have it, and the person who did 50 in a row will not. Here is the trap in one line. The sensation of fluency during a session is evidence that nothing is being built. Spacing does the same job with time. Leave a day, come back when it has gone slightly stale, when the first attempt is rough and you have to reach for it. That reaching is not a sign that you forgot. That reaching is the repetition that counts. 3 things to do this week, and none of them cost extra time. Put 3 skills in one session instead of one. Leave a day between sessions instead of stacking them. Start every session cold with the hardest piece from last time before you are warm and before you feel ready. Look at the 5 together, because they are one mechanism seen from 5 sides. The hour is not the unit. The corrected error is the unit, and everything here is a way of getting more of them into the same amount of time. Leave the rut, because what runs on autopilot cannot change. Go to the edge of the light, because a correction exists only where something misses. Get a fast and narrow signal, or the misses teach you nothing. Cut out the piece that fails and work on the piece, not on the whole run. And shuffle the deck, because comfort during a session is the clearest sign that the session is empty. Here is the test to run tonight. Think about the last hour you spent practicing anything and ask one question about it. What did you correct? If nothing comes back, that hour was not practice. You were performing something you could already do, and the hours will go on being honest and the line will go on being flat.